And we are delighted to have you with us on the starting lineup, and welcome back. Starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports in the Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont Springfield. By Citizens Bank of Rogersville with two locales, one adjacent to Highland Springs and the other in Rogersville itself. Brought to you by Swing Right Golf at the south end of Campbell Avenue, a little bit north of Nixa. Some great times, folks. Wonderful relaxation and fun things to do at Swing Right Golf. And by Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit. Couple of left turns. You cross over I-44 into the North Outer Road, and you drive right into Marshfield Chevrolet. I'm Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
And Art Hains.
And we're going to talk some Republic Tiger football. Coach Ryan Cornelsen on the line with us. Coach, we got you out of car line duty this morning to come talk some football. I know that just pains you to do that, but what are your guys doing with the car line this morning?
Yeah, actually, it's really one of my favorite things we do with our seniors every year. On Fridays, we'll hit different elementaries every Friday and do the car line. So they got their jerseys on, and see the young kids come in and get fired up and smile and get to see the football players. Whether they're opening the door for them or getting off the bus, we create the tunnels and all those things. So it's a pretty cool thing for our seniors. We do every year, and like I said, we go to all the different elementaries. So that's where I'm at. I'm actually in the principal's office doing this interview, but they're out there, greeting the youth as they come to school, and they're excited to be here.
And that's awesome. You do that every Friday during the fall?
We get most Fridays until we get through all the elementaries, and we've got we don't do the middle school, but we now have a RIS, fifth, sixth grade building that we'll go possibly do that one as well. So a lot of the Fridays we are there. It's not every Friday, but it's most.
Well, and you open up the season tonight at Lebanon, Will Christian's Yellow Jackets. Interesting that you two play in the opener, and you were two of the teams that don't do jamborees. So not having scouts there the week before to watch the other team, I guess that's pretty fair with both of you doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, so I haven't done jamborees in a long time, and even in Kansas, I didn't do jamborees, and really it's my philosophy. It comes down to I think really the only way you remember a jamboree is if something bad happens. So we just don't do it. I think it's a pretty high risk, and you go to the jamborees and you see people will play their starters 5 or 6 plays and pull them out or won't run what they're going to run in the game. So for me personally, I just don't see a reason to do it. So we haven't done it, and it's kind of it's what we've done since I've been here, and it's our program, and the kids buy into it, and so we haven't done it since I've been here.
Coach, in the old days, they didn't even have the jamborees. We had the soap scrimmages and soda scrimmages and things like that. Do you do something along those lines?
We do. We do it the last Friday. We call it Friday Night Lights. Last Friday, you can go in the summer. We'll have a Friday Night Lights. We have our youth all the way from first graders to our starters, and so we bring them out. We do a combine. We have our junior high runs. We all run through the tunnel. We announce all the kids. We have a small scrimmage at the end. Our junior high will go out and run our offense, and basically gets our every football player from first grade to senior on the field the same night. We have a big turnout. It's a fundraiser for us. It's probably more of a pep rally than it is a scrimmage, but it's a big night for our community, and it creates a lot of funds for our program. And so we choose to do that versus go to a jamboree.
Art? Do we have Art?
Is Arthur there?
Art, you there?
My signal is really garbled. I can't hear a thing.
Okay. Well, we'll just kind of move on then until we get that fixed. Coach, you do play Lebanon tonight. You told us in the break here it's almost like looking at a mirror image of yourselves there.
It really is. I mean, and not just from a schematic as far as what formations and plays, but from a philosophy of how you're calling plays and what you're trying to do. We're very, very similar, both sides of the ball. I think, we both use each other later in the season to watch film on how people, we watch film on how people line up to Lebanon, and I'm sure they watch film on how people line up to us. And we haven't played in the last 2 years. So again, it's different, because you kind of know what they're trying to do and they know what you're trying to do. So it's really just going to come down to who can execute and control the ball. And like I said, we're trying to do the same things. And so it is different when you're playing somebody so similar to what you're trying to do.
Coach Ryan Cornelsen visiting with us from Republic. Your whole team, of course, you have great respect for all of them, but you do have one really extraordinary athlete on the team, a guy who can play several positions. Tell us a little bit about the Govan kid.
Yeah, so Keiran, he first off, he had a really good junior season, had great film, and so we knew that he was going to get some really good offers in the off season, and felt like he was going to be highly recruited. And then it really blew up, and I think it exceeded all of our expectations when, you've got Alabama and Tennessee and Oregon, all these places calling and, trying to evaluate and offering him. And then, for me, it was the first time having to navigate the NIL and what all that looks like and the money and all that stuff. So it was a learning curve for all of us. But it was exciting, for him this off season. Now into the season, he is going to play both sides of the ball. He's going to play multiple positions on both sides of the ball. And he's just he's a really good athlete. And I think the thing that stands out most to me, this week as I'm watching, practice film, I would argue his motor ran higher in practice on both sides of the ball than any kid we had. And a kid that knows our stuff really, really well, could take some plays off. He knows what he's doing, but man, his motor was running high and making sure he was where he was supposed to be, and giving great effort. And I think that's what to me stands out, about him personally is even though he could probably not go as hard, he gives that full effort every day to make sure he's ready to play. He's a great kid, and he's going to be a great leader for us. We're excited for his senior year. It's been a wild off season with him, and going through all that was a lot of fun, and a lot of stress for him and for me. And so we were glad he was able to choose Mizzou and move forward to get to our season. And he's done a great job so far of being a leader for us.
We had him on earlier in the summer after the decision, and really engaging kid personality wise too. I think he said that once Iowa State offered the floodgates open, it kind of shows that once word travels there, wait a minute, we can't let them get him, and then all of a sudden everybody's in on it, right?
Yeah, they were some of the. I mean, Missouri State was honestly the first one that was a really solid offer. That was even going into his junior year, I believe, and so that's kind of where it started. So people started looking, and then. We were getting a lot of calls from a lot of places evaluating him. Then when Iowa State, they were the first. And then I think by the end of the week, there was probably 20. I mean, it went fast. And so, that process it's an interesting one now with all the how the college game was changed, with the NIL and all that stuff. That recruiting's changed a lot. And so, we try to navigate it the best we could and felt like a lot of coaches did a good job recruiting him and walking us through that process of what that all looks like. And so, we were happy he was able to make a decision. He chose Missouri, which is a great fit for him. It's close. And so, I think he'll do great things when he moves on beyond Republic.
Coach, about how many made personal visits with him?
That's a good question. I'm going to say, I know, as far as the ones that came by the high school, Mizzou, K-State, Iowa State, Iowa, then really what we did in the off season was unofficial visits in May. Actually, I think April more than May. But so basically, he went to a lot of them. Mm-hmm. The ones that were officially offered, he went to Alabama. He went to Tennessee and all this was on his own dime. It was unofficial visits. He went to KU, I believe. He went Louisville. He went to all these because really at that point, people were starting to put pressure, and he didn't know what any of those places were like, and the official visits aren't usually until June. And so we felt like, man, you got to get out there and see these places because this might not make it to June. And so his mom and grandparents did a great job of getting him all over the country to see these places. So a lot of it was not necessarily coming to Republic. There was some, but a lot of it was him going to them unofficially, just to see the campus and so he could make an educated decision.
Art, you back with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
You betcha.
Coach.
Good morning.
So, interested in all been said about Keiran. We've had him on the show, and he this may be repetitive. I wasn't on, but he seems like such a thoughtful young man and very articulate. Just really a great kid.
He really is, and he's going to be successful in life when football's over. That character, the things that you saw in your interview, I think the coaches saw when they interviewed him or when they recruited him and met with him. He's a great young man and very mature for his age. Understands how to treat people, how to be respectful. He's always been great to coach, and he tries to please his coaches and listen. And then you add on top of that, he's extremely competitive. Like when you see him, whether it's on the court or on the field, like you can see, I mean, he's competitive. He wants to win, and he's going to play hard. You put those things together, usually you have a pretty good football player.
Coach, 9-3 last season. The 3 losses were to the state runner-up teams, Carthage twice and Nixa. It looks like from reading the preview in the Ozone, you guys had some graduation losses on the offensive line. Is that kind of your area of concern, how that group comes together and how quickly they can this season?
Yeah, I think, obviously it's all an area of concern at this point till we get through a few games. But we graduated all but 2 starters on offense, and those 2 guys have different roles. So Raleigh and Brennan were guys that have now moved positions. So really, from an offensive standpoint, it's a whole new group. It's new faces in every position. And so, yeah, you want to see how they're going to react. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a young offensive line. We've got some seniors on there. It's just inexperienced. None of them have played at the varsity level. And so we've got to make sure we're able to make some adjustments these first few games and keep them to a minimum just so we don't confuse them. But we really feel like our offense throughout the season should get better just with games and experience. And, again, it's going to be exciting because they are new. So every big play, everything they do well, they're going to be super excited, which makes it fun as a coach. But we also know there's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be some problem areas that we're not ready for, that really games are the only way that it can teach you. We can only simulate so much in practice and when guys are moving fronts and all that stuff. But as we go through the season, they'll get where they can pick it up. And so, yeah, just seeing where our offense is and where we got to get to offensively will be a big key.
You probably had a pretty good idea of what your district was going to be, but is it really fair to have the late announcement the way it is now? Can that be done differently?
I don't know. I mean, we'll play whatever our schedule, whatever we get, and to me, the negative for us and our conference and our situation, and maybe it's all over state, is, you look at our last 3 games of our regular season is going to be Willard, Carthage, and Webb. And then we turn around and it very well could likely be those same teams we play. And so, it's like you repeat your season again, and you don't, I don't know. I would rather, I'd rather play somebody different. Have our districts be somebody that's not necessarily who we play right at the end of the season. I know that's the way Missouri's set up, and there's nothing we can do about it, so we don't worry about it. But it's, I'd never really played anybody twice until I got to Missouri, and now we do it every year, and it's just back to back. And so it was. I take that back. There's a few teams later in the playoffs that had to play twice, but nobody right out of the gate. And so it's a different. We've tried to treat it different. I don't know that we have it down yet, but that's probably the only thing I don't like about it. But you would think they could announce it a couple weeks ago, but for whatever reason, that they just do it on this Friday.
Ryan, was it the Sunflower League you were in at Gardner Edgerton?
Yes, yeah, that was. The year I got there, they had switched from the conference. I can't think of the name of it, with Blue Valley schools and some of those schools, and then we moved into Sunflower the year I got there.
Coach, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Art.
I was going to say, so, I mean, how does the competition in the COC compare to the Sunflower?
Yeah, I mean, I early on I was asked that quite a bit, and really in my mind. I feel like we saw a lot of really good individual talents in the Kansas City area. We saw Division I kids every week, whether, a lot of, quarterbacks, receivers, or whatever. We saw a lot of Division I type talent. I think the offensive and defensive lines in the COC are drastically better than what I was seeing in Kansas City. I think so. To me, the overall teams are probably better here than what I was seeing there. But you just had a lot of that's obviously a large area. It's a highly recruited area. So you were used to seeing guys that had multiple offers week in and week out, where maybe it's not as many here. But the overall teams in the COC are pretty good, and it's usually because our offense and defensive lines are really talented.
Coach, before we let you go and get back to the car line, who are some of the kids' names that we'll know by the end of the season that maybe we don't know now?
I think Nolan Lashley last year he was a big part of our defense. We've moved him over to offense as a running back. We need him to have a big year offensively running the ball. So he's always been a defensive guy, but he's growing up he's always played the fullback, and so he's one that I think will need to have a big year. Ethan Montill's been a 3-year starter off the edge. We need him to have another great year like he's had in the past, and this list could go on. There's Trenton Coleman has played both sides of the ball in the past, and this year he'll mainly play inside linebacker, but then you'll also see him running the ball some, and so he's a kid that we feel like is going to have an impact on both sides of the ball. And so, like I said, that list could go on for a while, but we need a lot of those guys that have changed positions that haven't played the varsity level to really step up and have big seasons for us to be successful.
Well, Coach, again, we appreciate it. Lebanon tonight, you mentioned a mirror image of each other. That goes down to the coaches. You and Will Christian, both the shaved head look there. Nate Thomas at Marshall. What is it about this industry, high school football, that guys lose their hair so quickly?
Yeah, the stress. That's an easy answer. The stress gets you quick. I think this is my 24th year as a head coach, so I lost my hair a long, long time ago.
Very good. Well, best of luck to you, and we'll check back with you during the season. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Ryan Cornelsen is the head coach at Republic. They open up with Lebanon tonight. We'll take a timeout on the starting lineup and be right back. Thanks for joining us on the starting lineup, and welcome back. What do we have coming up here? We do have the Evangel
segment now, and then Chuck Hepola at the bottom of the hour. But we're going to talk about some of the top stories. Art Hains with us this morning. Good morning, Arthur, officially.
Morning, guys.
We got your garble straightened out there on that end. We were talking in the break. This is just a different world with what people do now for their games, live streaming and we've talked a lot, of course, about Nixa Live, had Jordan Burns on, but Republic Tiger Sports down there, they've really got a good thing going. You guys were kind of filling me in on his background there, but from the website to the broadcast, I think they're kind of the gold standard in terms of an outside entity doing everything for a town team.
Yeah, David Brazil. There used to be a statewide high school football scoreboard show on Friday night, and he co-hosted it. And then moved down to this area, and at the other station, we tried to get him to do some games for us, and he did a few, but really has settled into Republic and does a great job.
Ned, you familiar as well?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. It is a very all-encompassing one, and when he had those broadcasts, it certainly helped a lot of people out with the late scores coming in. We were limited on time at KY3, and that you run into that. Well, these situations that occur now certainly help to fill that void that does occur.
They do, and again, I think last year when they were playing Nixa, the Nixa signal was down or they were having problems. Went over to the Republic Tiger Sports and just really impressed with the quality of it, but also every commercial break they had probably 6 or 7 different Republic businesses, and I think that's why I think they're the standard, because they're not just having 1 or 2 sponsors. It's the whole community. I think that's why you're seeing Republic kind of just take a step forward in everything they do right now. But, yeah.
Well, that community is just blowing up.
It has.
Every time you go down there, they've built another restaurant or subdivision or apartment complex. So it's really a booming area.
And don't overlook their neighbors to the south at Clever. They're coming on and doing very well.
Wait till Republic starts snatching their kids away. Then that'll create a nice little rivalry there. But no, and he's been on with us in the past. But Macy Mitchell is their chamber guy down there, and just a very engaging personality. I think he's helped bring that business community together and maybe make that connection with the schools too for some of the stuff they do. And of course, Republic opens with Lebanon tonight, then Kickoff and Nixa the next two. So that'll be fun. First 3 game start for the Republic Tigers there as well.
Yeah, I plan on being at that Nixa Republic game in 2 weeks.
That'll be a fun one. Yeah. That's, I think, September 11th is the date on that, I believe.
It is.
Yeah, my daughter's actually being honored as the salute to veterans at the Springfield Cardinals that night at the game. So we'll miss the high school game that night, but for a very worthy cause there. But speaking of baseball, Art, Royals offense got back in gear last night. Jack with the jack that went third deck, and Jack Caglianone's doing the things they thought he would do now.
He had 5 hits and 6 RBIs, and there have only been 2 Royals in history do that in a game. Eric Hosmer was the last one. So, yeah, he is really coming into his own. He's going to be a superstar.
You knew that right at the very beginning, too. His record at University of Florida, nothing short of outstanding. We saw him down here in the farm, and he was a very, very fine player. You knew this was very temporary when he got up to the big leagues, that he'd have a slow start. Hey, don't overlook Pasquantino, too. He came back with 3 RBIs last night.
Yeah, and a home run. So, yeah, the floodgates just opened last night. And, of course, Noah Cameron was flawless for 5 2/3, and then he gave up a 2-run homer. But he got his 6 innings in, 2 runs, and, yeah, it was a laugher, really.
One of the interesting things about them, too, Bobby Witt Jr. has not had just a blow-up season. In terms of power and RBIs, he's stolen, 33, 34 bases or something like that. But here we are in late August, and who would have thunk a month ago that maybe the Royals and Guardians series would have some meaning, but it probably does this weekend.
Well, it probably does. I mean, the Royals are still a great long shot to get into the wild card. That's not going to happen, but and the Guardians, it's a big series for them. It was kind of a big series for Toronto. Yeah. And the Royals went in there and beat them 2 out of 3.
Yeah, and, do you honestly, in that American League, in the American League Central, you don't think they have any chance, or could they just stay off for another couple weeks and see what happens?
Well, they're 10 games out, so that's a lot to overcome in 4.5 weeks. But the wild card, they are, I think, 8 games out, and so that might be a little more doable, but that's still a big ask.
First game of high school football we mentioned tonight there with Coach Cornelsen. Any other matchups that catch your eye tonight?
Glendale's game with Webb City.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be really interested about Glendale and their twosome on the receiving core and against Webb, which hasn't been quite as good in recent years, but they're still Webb City. So that's an interesting game.
Carthage and Nixa, matchup of the returning state runner-ups in Class 5 and 6 last year.
That's the game of the night.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what if there's any changes to that Nixa offense. They've gone through Dylan Ribura 2 years ago, carried it about 20, 25 times a game. Then McCaster, the transfer last year, did the same. Do they turn Adam McKnight loose a little bit more in the passing game now, or does he carry it more at 6'4" and 215? I think a lot of intrigue on that one.
Yeah, there is. I mean, they're still going to run the ball, but I think it does stand to reason that they may use Adam and his big arm more than they have.
And another one to keep your eye on, too, is Clever Marionville. Here's Clever, a team that came, I can't say literally out of nowhere because they've been making strides, but comes on and have a great year last year, and here they get a chance to challenge a renowned smaller school team in Marionville. That'll be an interesting little contest.
And that's at Marionville, I believe.
Marionville,
so,
correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is a great atmosphere, so that'll be a fun game.
NFL preseason, second night of Week 3 tonight, Chiefs and Seahawks. Do you expect to see anybody of significance out there for Kansas City?
Maybe a little, but not much. I mean, it's you say this close to the regular season. I mean, you're still 2.5 weeks, so you've got some time there. But it's probably going to be the Chris Oladokin show in the second half again, which is sad.
Well, and I've heard more and more the stuff I've listened to nationally this week, kind of talking about what we were with the Chiefs earlier in the week, that, yes, they have all these guys back and supposedly healthy, but they're not completely healthy. Rashee Rice has still been a little slow to recover, and has Worthy played in the preseason?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and, of course, Patrick hasn't played. Now you got the Kenneth Walker foot situation that may or may not be a concern, but just a lot of things. I wonder if that plays into any part of, do you put those guys in bubble wrap tonight and not play them, or do you try to get them a little bit of action and then have 2 weeks to kind of get ready for the Monday night opener?
Well, Walker certainly doesn't play.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see Pat play a series, but I doubt it.
Guys,
the others, they maybe.
I got my copy of SI yesterday, and this is the football preview for both colleges and pros. And they had one article in there that listed the 14 basic, and this is a personal writer's opinion, the 14 teams that he thinks will be playoff contenders. Neither the Chiefs nor the Philadelphia Eagles were included.
Wow.
That surprised the daylights out of me.
I wonder who some of them that are jumping up there into that category are. I'm sure there's Jacksonville is getting a lot of momentum from the national press.
They were in there, yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to think who else. The usual suspects, your Bills, your Patriots, your people like that. What about the Cowboys? Were they in there?
I don't remember where they were included. I have a feeling they were, but I didn't go through it that quickly.
Yeah, and I think you can put a lot of teams in that, because what are there, maybe 5 or 6 just bad teams out there, and then everybody else is at least good to above average, wouldn't you say?
You would think so.
Yeah.
But evidently this individual, and again, it was a subjective opinion on his part, and he made that clear in the comments that he had.
I think it's pretty evident that everybody's down on the Chiefs.
Yeah, and except Chiefs fans. I think they think, hey, Patrick's back, and we got Kenneth Walker, and Rice is not in jail, and all these things. Travis Kelce's back at 36. Let's go, and got to see it on the field first. And the one that I think might take a step back are the Niners. A lot of people were hot on them. Number one, their division is so tough with the Seahawks and the Rams both in there. But they've had so many preseason, they brought in Mike Evans. He still can't practice, and they don't know if he's going to be ready. And Christian McCaffrey, all those fantasy football people are scared to death to draft him this year, because he did have a healthy year last year, but he's 30 years old. George Kittle's coming back. Was that Achilles on Kittle or knee? I can't remember.
He's Achilles, I think.
Achilles, yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah, just a lot of question marks with that team, and Brock Purdy and who's going to be on the field with him, But, it'll be fun. And again, the Chiefs wrap it up tonight with the Seahawks. So we'll get to see some hard knocks with some highlights from that game. Jacardier Wright, as Ned said, we'll see if he plays or doesn't play. If he doesn't play, it's probably a good thing, because it means they're trying to save him for the regular season. He's going to play a more important role. And
if he did, he would open up on a Wednesday night against the New England Patriots.
Yeah, on the official opener there, too. So let's take a timeout and let's talk some Evangel football with Chuck Hepola.
And we will do so. You're listening to the starting lineup, and back in just a second. Great to have you with us on the starting lineup, and welcome back. Starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Citizens Bank of Rogersville, and by Marshfield Chevrolet. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
And Art Hains.
And a special guest on the line with us is Evangel football. Valor open up their season tomorrow night, 6:05 kickoff down at Nixa Eagles Stadium against University of St. Mary. We welcome in Coach Chuck Hepola. Chuck, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning to you guys, and always a pleasure.
We always ask the coaches before the opener, are you ready? So are you ready?
Well, we've got practice this afternoon, so we got meetings and practice this afternoon, walk through on Saturday morning, and then kick off on 6 o'clock. So we still have a little bit of work to do. Actually made sure the team knew that yesterday. I said, we're not, I'm not ever a Hayes in the barn guy, because I actually think you should be learning things during the game too. So we were always trying to work to execution. And we have a phrase in our program. We say, we don't run plays, we execute plays. And so we're always working to try to execute at a high level. So there's always work to be done.
Chuck, what's been your history against this St. Mary's ball club?
Yeah, well, we beat them last year opening up at their place. The last time we were supposed to be at home, I don't know if you remember, but that's when there was those major storms that came in. A lot of schools had to move games or cancel them, and actually that game got canceled with them. So they were here because we would not have been able to kick off until about 2 o'clock in the morning. And so they went home, and then our two presidents got together and said, nope, we're not playing it. So the last time they came to Nixa, we didn't get to play them. So we've been fortunate enough to beat them both times that we have played them, and but I've only played them twice. So and talented team. They're just a young team, is what they are.
So Chuck, every game you get on a bus, what's your game day regimen for home games?
Yeah, so the same. We'll come in. So 6 o'clock game. Our guys will do a walkthrough at 1:30, and we'll do that typically inside just to kind of keep them out of the heat. And so we'll do that inside AG Financial, and we'll do about a 30-minute walkthrough offense and defense, and then, just prepare for that. Then we're always going to eat a pregame meal 4 hours before. So then we'll get into our cafeteria, eat our pregame meal. Then after that, during the pregame meal, our coaches they're sitting with their position group, and then we're going over tips and reminders and tests. We give them tips and reminders on Friday. So today, and then we'll go over their test. So they're also given a test that they've got to finalize, by the time we have our pregame meal. And then during that pregame meal, they'll cover that. And then they'll go back to the locker room, get all their stuff together. And then we will load a bus about 2.5 hours before the game, because we arrive at the stadium always 2 hours before. Then we walk the field and then go in, and then we just go through our regular pregame. So yeah, it's a very regimented thing. But yeah, every game for us, unfortunately, right now is an away game. And so our guys are used to getting on and getting off the bus.
Yeah, Carthage and Nixa will warm up the field for you tonight down there in a great high school matchup.
Yep.
I've always been impressed with Evangel, even back in the days when Dave Fillmore was making us bologna sandwiches over at JFK. The way the Evangel student body travels, I mean, it's a little bit of a haul for those kids, especially if they don't have a vehicle, but they find a way to get to the game. And you guys consistently are among the top teams in attendance, aren't you, in football?
Absolutely. Yeah, last year we were number 4 in the nation in average and total attendance, and they're traveling 30 minutes, roughly 30 minutes away. And again, they're college kids. They're spending some gas, So really, if you think about it, 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, it's an hour drive. So they are spending a little bit of money in their cars, and so we're actually grateful that they would come. And Evangel does a really good job of the student development, does a really good job of getting students involved in a variety of things. And so the students really do a good job of coming and participating in the games. And I actually spoke at a class yesterday for this week and next week, 10 a.m. on Thursdays. I'll be speaking to a freshman orientation class, so I go in and talk to them. And so they've got kind of a face with a name and get a chance to talk to them a little bit. But the university does a super job. And isn't that part of the college experience? I mean, that's what it should be.
And the kids the kids being the players, really love to have that support. Chuck, along those same lines, what have you seen in this preseason drills that really impresses you about this ball club? Yeah, 22. So if we're just talking offense and defense, which special teams, let me just say that in advance, that's a big deal with us. I mean, it's a big deal, huge deal. But if you took offense and defense right now, 14 of our 22 starters on offense and defense are 4th or 5th year guys. And then we only have one of those 22 guys that's a 2nd year guy, and all the rest are 3rd year guys. And so we've got a veteran ball club, and we've got great leadership. And so just impressed with how our kids, get out and compete on a daily basis. And so, just looking forward to having a veteran ball club out there. And that's been a big deal to us. That's why retention is such a big deal. If you can retain players, we say recruit, retain, develop, diploma, recommend. And so I'm going to recommend. I mean, it's amazing how many I've kept track of all of them, the recommendations I've written over the years, and it is a lot.
And it's a pleasure of mine to do that because these young men have poured their heart and soul into Evangel University or the other universities I worked at. And it should be our pleasure to be able to help them. And so that's what I've been most impressed with is just our overall leadership and having a veteran ball club and knowing how to react to things. So, because again, we're dealing with, wet bulb stuff and weather and, trying to, having to adjust, practice schedules and so forth. And our veteran guys can handle it.
Art?
Chuck, what are your areas of strength and concern going into the season?
Yeah, the main thing on offense would be quarterbacks, and that's but you know what? That's my concern every year because no matter who is playing at whatever level, I mean, I know you guys were talking about the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs are going to go as far as their quarterback play, and they've got an awfully good one. And then on defense, it's always defensive front. We want to make sure, but ultimately the main concern is just the overall depth and health of your team. Again, it's a slippery slope. I'm trying to get guys ready for a physical game, but also keep them fresh. I'm a big believer in my staff being fresh because when you're fresh, you think clearer. When you're fresh as a player, we talk about fresh legs. So it's just trying to find those. And that's the thing. I have a absolute love-hate relationship with football. If I were to write a book, it would be football, love-hate relationship. I love the game like you wouldn't believe, but I hate it because I'm never going to reach the pinnacle, which is what I'm trying to do is achieve perfection. And you'll never, ever achieve that. And that's what you're always attempting to do. And it just absolutely drives me crazy. And so that's the part that I'm always struggling with is trying to get them to perfect their job. So
something like golf.
Yeah. There you go. That sounds like
very
golf.
much so.
Yeah. Chuck, a little disappointed you didn't mention find a wife as a sixth staple of your program there because it seems like most of your football guys do in 4 years over at Evangel, which is a good thing there. I do notice on the
that's one area though I want to stay out of.
Yeah, you don't want to play matchmaker on that one.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I did see on your schedule. Do you have one game at Ozark this year? Is there a conflict at Nixa? What's the situation there?
Yeah, there was. Nixa had, and again, we're grateful to be able to play out there. What a great venue, and they had a band competition that's going on literally all day, and so we were trying to be able to fit in the game, but what they've got going on, we couldn't do it.
Your thought process on how soon before Evangel gets to host their own games?
Yeah, those are talks, and right now we actually literally just started school and opened a new dorm, and flood dorm, which is literally east of our stadium, and literally every day when I go out, I just look over at that dorm, and so there's a lot of stuff going on at Evangel right now. I think there are definitely talks about that. We will revisit that here in the fall and talk about that and see where they're at. There is definitely a lot of interest. There's men that want to be able to do this and be able to put that together. But that's the one thing, Evangel. Once we get that, you're always continuing to build. I mean, look at Missouri State. I mean, if you would have guessed some of the things that they were doing, I mean, it's unbelievable and it's awesome. And so eventually we'll get an on-campus stadium, and once we do that, it'll be second to none. If you want to know the truth. So,
Art.
Well, so Chuck, this is how many years for you now as head coach?
Yeah, this is my 11th year, 35th year of doing this, 11th year as the head coach, and it's been fun. I've enjoyed it, and Evangel's been a great place to be a head coach at.
And we were talking Ryan Cornelsen, Republic, and he and Will Christian in the hairless matchup tonight. He says that all those bald guys you see in football, it's from stress. You still got hair, Chuck. What's going on with that?
That is a good question, but it's awful gray, man. I mean, that's where I got. When I used to coach at University of Tulsa, I was early gray, and our offense coordinator at the time, a guy named Charlie Stubbs, used to tell me, he's like, because I like Michael McDonald and the Doobie Brothers and stuff like that, and he's like, your hair's gray because you listen to that music, and I'm like, well, I'm but also coaching. But yeah, I mean, if you can see right there, there's a little, it's working its way back. So I'll do the best I can to hang on to it.
You mean Rube Berry didn't help to make that hair gray?
Rube Berry started it. There's no question about that. I learned more from that man, and I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a quick story on this. My very first game at varsity level, I'm a special teams coordinator. And we scored a touchdown on the opening drive, and we did not have the block out there to kick. And so we had to call timeout for the PAT. And he came over and, lit me up. Lit me up. And then he handed me that block and put it in my pocket and said, "This never leaves your pocket ever again." But a side note to that is I told my wife before the game, I said, "Now listen," I said, "I get after the players." I said, "Coach Berry's going to get after me." I said, "Do not be upset with him if he gets upset with me. That's just normal coaching." Well, I got home that night. My wife said, "I saw you get it. I saw you get it a couple of times." And I said, "Well, that's just part of it." But working with him was a pleasure, and I will forever, ever be grateful for the things that he taught me.
Art.
So, you have achieved a level of consistency really in your program. And I know that's what everybody asks for. You can always get better, but you're always near the top or at the top of your conference. So that's something to be admired.
Yeah, thank you. We do want to be consistent. There's no doubt. What we need to really, the next step we need to take is we've been in the playoffs. We just need to be able to win playoff games. And, that's a frustration I've had. And we had a chance last year and we really had a chance both games. The first playoff game, RJ Wakely, we're actually moving in, take the lead, and he ends up getting injured. And so we had that, losing that starter quarterback there in a playoff game was tough. And then, last year having a chance on the very last play of the game to be able to win a playoff game. So we need, yes, we've been consistent. I'm very proud of that. But again, like I said, we want to be able to win playoff games, but we're also striving perfection. We tell our players all the time, perfection is our goal, but excellence will be tolerated. And that's what we're trying to work for. And it's just it's tough to try to be consistent. Winning is tough, and so I'm very grateful that we've been able to do that.
6:05 tomorrow night against St. Mary out of Kansas. It's an Evangel team that was 9-3 last year. Opens this season at number 19 in the national poll. Chuck, who are some local names that fans can see here in the early part of the season that are going to make a difference for the Valor?
Oh, goodness. So let me go with some offensive line. Lucas Higgins is from Nevada. He's a fifth-year guy for us. Dom Dawson is our center that should be an All-American for us. He's a Mount Vernon kid. Right tackle is Joe Don Kirkland. He's from Branson. Brock Lyle is from Rolla, Missouri. Trying to go through it. Cam Harris, a running back for us from Parkview. Trying to think all local here, guys, off the top of my head. Draven Van Gilder is from Joplin, was an all-conference player for us as well. Trying to think here off the top of my head, local guys that are in that two deep right off the bat. But got quite a few of them. Got a lot of them, a high percentage of them from Missouri. And even Luke Milligan, he's a Tulsa kid. So, we've got quite a few kids from around this area.
Chuck, you might go over very quickly with the audience and with us. What are the playoff circumstances in the KCAC? How do you get into the playoffs?
Yep, you bet. KCAC is two divisions, the Bissell and the Kessinger. We're in the Kessinger division, and the first 6 games of the year, the Kessinger and Bissell cross over and play each other. And then you have a bye week, and then you start your conference play, the last 5 games of the season. So we're going to play 11-game season, and we only play KCAC teams. I think eventually we'll probably make that change because you do really want to play people outside. The Kessinger will have a representation, and the Bissell will have a representation. And then if teams play well, we can have up to 3 and even potentially 4 teams get in the conference, not the conference, but the national playoffs. And so we're definitely guaranteed 2. And so the Bissell will have 1 and the Kessinger will have 1. And so we just got to take care of business. And that's the catch-22 too, because you think about the way that works. These first 6 games are huge. There's no doubt. The most important game you have is the next one. And but then, for you to be able to get in playoffs and win your conference, you got to win your last 5 games. And so you want to make sure that you're not winning a game, but at the expense of losing the season.
Sure.
And so you have to be very careful and cautious about how you're doing that.
Chuck, we appreciate it. I was looking down your schedule to see what games that people might want to circle. I got to think on September 26th, when Friends comes in after the 53-0 game last year, there'll be a little revenge on the minds. Maybe not so much Friends by the end of that one, right?
Absolutely. That would be a good game to come. I mean, we've played them 3 times. We've been able to get them twice, and they got us pretty good last year. And so, but I will say this: after that, if you look at our schedule, our guys rallied from that, and I mean, just finished the season, and that just speaks a lot for our coaches and our kids and type of kids that we have. Because again, all these guys that are returning right here, they played in that game last year, so that's what we're experiencing, and so hopefully we can we can have a better showing than what we did last year during that game. So.
Very good. Best of luck to you, and we'll touch base with you throughout the season. Thanks, Chuck.
Yes, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure.
He is Chuck Hepola, head coach at Evangel. We'll take a quick timeout on the starting lineup. Back in a second. And we return with the starting lineup. Coach Hepola is always very refreshing to visit.
He is, yeah. I wish him the best of luck. And that Friends game on September 26th, that could be one. If you're going to go out and watch Evangel on a Saturday night, you may have to disregard that that's a Christian school that night. May be a little spicy there. But, Art, week 0 of the college football season is upon us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 games tomorrow at the FBS level. Which ones are you going to be tuning in with, especially a higher level of interest?
First one, it's going to be interesting to see with Bobby now leading the offense there with Belichick, and if they're improved any over last year, which they have some improvement to do.
Yeah, that first game from Ireland, TCU is now an 8.5-point favorite in that one. I think the first one and last one are particularly intriguing. You got Memphis at UNLV, 9 o'clock.
That's a big game.
Yeah, it is, tomorrow night. And that may be for the driver's seat of the bid for the playoffs, maybe?
Correct. It may very well be. UNLV has a much improved football team. Memphis is coming on a new coach, but we'll see what they have.
And then Jacksonville State at North Dakota State. Their debut
really
in that one. And North Dakota State's a 7-point favorite over the Conference USA member.
Guys, we are out of time. Been great having you with us, and hope you all have a great weekend. I know you will. I'm Ned Reynolds.
Scott Puryear.
Art Hains.
Okay, Arthur, they're rounding the far turn, and
down the stretch they come.
See you next week, folks.
See ya.